grace that takes you somewhere is the same grace that keeps you there. Okay? And so if, for instance, you started a relationship by cheating with them, it's not lost to me that they may cheat on you. You know that song, have you left the one you left me for? Wow. I love people, and I love especially when people get better. A friend of mine was asking me recently, what would you say is some of your greatest gifts? And I said, I love impact. If I can cause impact in people, not in cats. Maybe you're called to cause impact with cats. Wherever you are, thank you so much for choosing to hang out with me. This is Ask Eric. My name is Eric Omondi. What we try and do here, if this is your first time here, is to make sense of adult conversations and adult life. You know, we don't live in silos. The human family has many deficits, and it helps if all of us can come together. You know, it used to be when we were growing up that everybody was somebody's child. If your mom's friends or a neighbor saw you do something heinous, they would pinch you like this and take you to your mother. And communities fared better. So this sense of individualism can have some demerits. And so what we try and do here, if you're new, Karibu, is to make sense, have conversations, sharpen one another. Iron sharpens iron. There's a perspective we wield that I will never have. So when you share it with me, then we become better. So I thought we create a platform where you can ask questions and we share the questions together, both on video format through the number that is running down on your screen below, and even in the comment sections. Experiences are not exactly the best teacher. If you can learn to avoid somebody's horrible experience, then you'll be better for it. Okay? They say to know the road ahead, ask those coming back. And so if there's a ditch, they'll tell you, don't go that side, there's a ditch. So you just turn. You don't have to go there and see the ditch for yourself and then get beaten by a hyena, right? So the question today is, what are some of the life lessons that you've experienced or learned that you can share with us? That is deep, because I don't consider myself a sage, but I'll try my best. So I scribbled a few things that I think are important. Number one, on top of my mind, I would say start as you intend to go. In anything, start as you intend to go. I learned this principle maybe in my late 20s. The grace that takes you somewhere is the same grace that keeps you there. Okay? And so if, for instance, you started a relationship by cheating with them, it's not lost to me that they may cheat on you. You know that song, have you left the one you left me for? It's very important to be very cognizant of the fact of life that consequences are tied to decisions. Okay? So when we are talking, you and I now, consequences are just chilling. Consequence is chilling. Consequence is chilling. There's a consequence of HIV that is lying dormant. HIV and AIDS, for instance. It's chilling. You don't have it, but it's chilling. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just chilling. Now, a decision that you will decide on Friday night with that lady or with that man or with that whatever person will activate a consequence. Does that make sense? And so I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just simply saying that decisions decide destinies. And if you decide well, you will fare well. If you don't decide well, you will fare poorly. Success and failure are not happenstance. They are both a result of decisions. I used to be very, 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 very big, as I've shared the story before. And what I decided to do, one time I was sitting at home, I'd ordered the largest pizza. You know those large pizzas? It was large. And I waited for a day when they had an offer. I think I was living and working in South Africa. And I waited for the day they had an offer so that when you get one, you get another one free. So it was a deck of pizza. And I was, doom scrolling the news and watching E-News. Does E-News still exist? This is many years ago. I was in my late 20s. And I flicked the channels and it got to a show called Over 50, Top 50 and Looking Fabulous. So the gist was simple. They had lined up 50 men who are above the age of 50 who are shredded and looking very good. So I want you to picture me with my generous belly, with layers, and my nice cheeks swollen. And I was just getting a pizza to eat before I have dinner. And so the countdown began. I think I saw Tom Cruise in there. I saw Eddie Murphy in there. I saw Barack Obama in there. And I thought to myself, wait, this is interesting. So I quickly paused, went to my bedroom, and I lifted my shirt. And my belly was smiling back at me like. And so I thought to myself, if I continue devouring these pizzas, I'll be 50 in a couple of years like these men. What am I doing? Can you imagine? So without a heart condition, without a threat to my life, without nothing, I called the security guard, gave out the pizza. I took all these crisps that I had in my fridge and sodas and gave them out. And that was the first day. The following morning, I went on a run. So it's been over 15 years now. And I shredded that weight I had to more than, it's almost close to half. I think my smallest since I began working out is 77 kilos. And when I began working out, I was 146 kilos. So why am I telling you this story? The decision I made that night changed the trajectory of my weight. Okay? So start things well. The way you start is the way things go. I could borrow an analogy on buildings. A lot of city council in countries or governments that are working, if they came and saw a crack on your building, on the wall, many times they just write you a warning and say, please fix the crack. But if they see a crack on the foundation, they shut the building down. Because a crack on the foundation often signifies a bigger crack. And a lot of lives can go because of not fixing the foundation. So why I'm saying the foundation is for the simple reason that you want to start things well. Start things well. Start your marriage well. Don't start an affair. Okay? Because an affair is a crack on the foundation. Start your business well. Don't start on stealing somebody else's business. Remember, the grace that takes you keeps you. So to sustain the business, you have to keep stealing business. Okay? Tell the truth. Do right. I think right has its place. And this is not just sanctimonious talk. It's actually a principle. It's a simple principle that if you put a carrot to the ground, you cannot show up and say, oh my God, I have lime. You will harvest carrot. Okay? So foundations help us to be safe. They give us stability and they give us longevity. Think about the building analogy. Why foundations have to be done well is for the three reasons I've stated: stability, longevity, and safety. Because if the foundation is right, you can put pillars and a roof and walls and windows and all those things. And if the foundation is off, you know the story. Okay? So number one life lesson, start well and go well. The second thing I would say, friends really shape your future, whether you like it or not. And no conversations are neutral. We are all infected and affected by conversations. They change our perspectives and our minds. And so as you're growing older, as I am, you want to surround yourself with people who are of a growth mentality. Okay? So you want to try and avoid people who speak doom and gloom. People are fairly careless with their talk. They say, if you show me your friends, which is literally your connections, I will show you who you are. You hear the famous saying, if you hang out with 4 millionaires, you'll be the fifth one. It's pretty much true. For the simple reason that iron sharpens iron. Paul wrote a wonderful letter to the Corinthians in the canonical book of the Bible and said that bad company corrupts good morals. So that means if you expose yourself to bad people, chances are some of it is going to rub on you. Okay, so the second principle I would say, you want to be very, very careful about the community of friends you build and the connections you build. And tied to this, I must say, relationships far outweigh real estates. So what that means is you want to be very careful so you're not caught in the trap of investing only in tangibles. People are very big with that, especially in this day and age of cryptocurrency and land and cars and buying vintage stuff and watches. You want to invest in people. Like really, you want to invest your time in people. You want to go for their children's christening. You want to go for their wedding. You want to celebrate when they're celebrating. And you want to mourn when they're mourning. You know, we like to make a big hoo-ha around money. But if you look at the chart in the hierarchy of wealth, currency flows at the bottom 3. Have you ever thought about that? Currency. There are about maybe 12 stanzas of wealth. Currency flows at bottom 3. So at the top, depending on what you believe in, I believe that the top is God. Secondly, I believe in mental and physical health. If somebody told you, I'll give you $10 million and take away your health, I give you the most ravaging, metastasizing cancer, which one will you choose? Will you still take $1 billion? You see how quickly, I mean, if you read and see some of these billionaires who have been ravaged by a crazy disease, you see how useless money weighs in comparison to a healthy life. Okay? And so investing in people is very important, not just for the sake that you'll always get to draw from them, but it's really fulfilling. Legacy is not left in things, as we like to believe. Legacy, like I have never read anywhere what Mandela drove. And even if I have, it doesn't matter. I don't know who used to sew Dr. Martin Luther King's suits. I don't know if he wore Savile Row in London or he just had some person from the Congo making his suits. But I know what he stood for. So I think friends and relationships really matter to do things well. There's a big challenge. A lot of conversations now as a millennial that I hear around a lot is people complaining about Gen Zs. Are you a Gen Z, by the way, and you're watching this? But I've also, when I was growing up, there was a lot of complaints about millennials. So it's not that Gen Zs are any breed of special. I hear they are. But do things well. Practice excellence. Okay? Again, I think it's Martin Luther King who said, if you have been given a street to sweep as a street sweeper, do it so well so that kings and queens can come and eat off of it. There's a sense of touch and go that I see. It's very pervasive, where people want money before work, and people don't even do the work well. Okay? So if you give them a job, they don't do it well, but they will pound your phone very early in the morning to ask for their money. So then, do things well. Do things really well. If you've been given an opportunity to do something, do it excellently well. Go above board. Overperform. Okay? Exceed your expectations. And that sometimes looks like if you said you're going to deliver something at 10 in the morning, the best time to deliver it is at 9:45. Okay? So do things really, really well. Be a person of excellence. Do not be a character. Be a person of character. Be integrous. So there's an idea here. Again, we live in this side of the world where corruption is rife. I'm not a politician. I don't meddle in politics. But you need to be a person of character enough to have convictions, even when you are inconvenienced. Okay? Have convictions. Say, but we don't do that here. Even when you're really inconvenienced or embarrassed, have convictions. In this company, we deliver on quality. If somebody comes with a less than a qualitative material and says, you make a big margin. Nope. We deliver on quality. I think that is dying, sadly. Okay? And that is presented now in things like affairs that we have which people are very proud, having multiplicity of children outside of wedlock. This is not a moral show, but I'm just saying that there is a big difference, and your conscience, which is the softest pillow, rewards you at the end of your day when you stand a chance to do things excellently and well and consistently, even when they're not serving you. So you cannot say that my convictions are morality, but if somebody comes with the right price, or if I'm about to get fired, then I will let my conviction down. No. Die on your convictions. Die on your convictions. I don't believe in breaking homes. I don't believe in lying. I don't believe in stealing. I don't believe in, lying about somebody else so that they are fired. Even if I would be fired for staying true to my convictions, I am happy to do that. So you want to live a life of conviction, even when you're inconvenienced. Don't choose convenience over conviction. Because, I can, give you a couple of thousands of dollars for now. But farther down the road, a story I read once is some people in a department, they were board of directors, they decided on something. And one person said, I'm not comfortable with this decision. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to go on with it. And then they said, okay, as we've gotten money, you cheer. So he said, no. I want it recorded that I did not participate in this. And they're like, okay, fine. Yeah, let's give him something to sign. And he signed it and he left. 4 years later, when a new audit firm came, it was found in written form that only one person of the cabal had outed themselves and not received money. So who do you think was called to steer that company forward? And even if you're not rewarded, I think it does something to you. Also, don't be lukewarm. Decide. I respect people who are conmen more than people who are conmen sometimes, preaching sometimes, praying sometimes, stealing sometimes, womanizers sometimes. Who are you? What are you? What the hell are you looking? So to be decisive. I think it's also a biblical principle. Jesus said, don't be lukewarm. If you're hot, be hot. If you're cold, be cold. Here, katikati. You're sometimes watermelon, sometimes you're red, sometimes you're green. What are you? Let people know you for what you stand for, what you believe. If you're a thief, be a brazen thief. Own it with your chest. If you're a con artist, be the con artist you can be. Be the best con artist you can be, if that's what motivates you or sails your boat. Also, I would say on that regard, that it helps to do things on the table. Don't have hand-to-hand deals. Again, it goes to the lukewarm conversation. Put things on the table. Let people say that, I know Eric. Eric would not say this. Eric would not stand for this. Eric would not. Don't shock people. But if perhaps you've turned around and shocked people and guys are like, do not be afraid to turn around. Think about it this way. If say you and I are in the car and we are lost, we are trying to go to Thika Road, and we discover that we are actually driving towards Wayaki Way going to Westlands. Okay? So we've seen the Great Wall. We are approaching Limuru. What is wise to do? Especially if you are needed in Thika. Isn't it wise to look for the fastest exit outside of that route? So I think it's very important not to be on the way that you see is leading you to the pit. Sometimes when you're confronted with new information, which I would say is another point, be magnanimous enough to say, I held this different ideal. I've been presented with a different ideal. And now I am better informed. And because of the information I've been now presented with, I am turning around. So that has its place. I am very wary of people who are presented with new information, but they're hell-bent on getting into the ditch. So don't be afraid when you're one of those board of directors that I gave as an example, who, didn't care to sign and took the money. Don't be afraid to say, you know what, Mr. Macharia, you really, really have encouraged me that you stood firm and didn't take the money. I think I want to take that path now next time. So if you're presented another opportunity between stealing and doing what is right, then you do what is right. I think that can take you slightly further. And it doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be broadcasted. It doesn't have to be beamed on billboards. It can just be something you've done quietly within yourself, and it enriches your soul. As Dr. Maya Angelou used to say, and I loved her dearly and respect her fervently, she said, doing right may not be expedient or profitable, but it does enrich your soul. So do right.